Hello, and welcome back to dsunion.org. I'm Dr. Velez, and we're starting a new series today on analyzing all of Donald Trump's cabinet picks. Now, I'm not going to analyze all 4,000 people he picks for the White House staff and related positions, but we're going to go through the main ones. I trust Donald Trump implicitly, otherwise I wouldn't have voted and campaigned for him. However, I don't trust the people around him very much. We're going to look today at a man that I didn't know before. His name is Mike Pompeo, and he is now the nominee for Director of Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. You know, I got to be honest with you, I got mixed feelings about this. There's a few things that I want to get out of the way. First, I'm going to read his brief bio, and then we're going to talk about his life. Michael Richard Mike Pompeo, born December 30th, 1963, is an American politician, blah, 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 blah. He was a member of the Tea Party movement. I'm not a fan of the Tea Party movement. He served as a Kansas representative for the Republican National Committee, and now he's the Director of Central Intelligence Agency. I want to first start by saying that this guy is 53 years old. Why is this important? Everybody is broken down into generations, and a generation is marked by an event. For example, 9/11 is an event, World War II is an event, the sort of cultural-ish type revolution that occurred during the 1960s, which we call the baby boomers. That is a generation. The silent generation, the World War I generation, for example. The millennial generation. And yeah, I laugh at that because that is probably the most useless of all the generations. And then we have the next generation, which is coming up, which doesn't have a proper name for it as of yet. For disclosure purposes, I'm Generation X. So my generation is marked by independence, methodical, logical, but also really, really distrusting of authority figures and especially government, which is why I do what I do. Okay, so let's talk about this. He's a baby boomer, and he's towards the beginning of the generation of the baby boomers. Being at 53 years old, I want to read 8 of the important characteristics of a baby boomer. Now, baby boomers as general, not him in particular, but all baby boomers share some things in common. Most have a strong work ethic. Most are self-assured. Most are competitive. They're very competitive, actually. And we can see that in the world that they've inherited. Goal-centric. Now, I like this one. Post-World War generation is all about setting goals and achieving goals. They enjoy creating goals for themselves. They are resourceful, mentally focused, team-oriented, as contrast to my generation, which is the generation of, leave me alone, I got this. They're disciplined. They like structure. And they like structure partly because they grew up with what we call the Great Generation. The generation that created the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, these great institutions, these great American institutions, the generation that gave us the United Nations, which I detest, but they gave it to us anyway. They tried to give us the League of Nations, the generation that planned and executed the European Union, these great builders of industry and governmental structures. They're the ones that raised that generation. Now, this isn't a show about generations. I'll do that much later. But let's dive into Mike Pompeo. Let's find out, who is he? He's our new CIA director. Now, this is a big, big thing. Like I said, I got mixed feelings on this guy. Maybe Donald Trump knows something. I'm assuming he knows a lot more than I don't know. And I'm not sure that I should know it if it has to do with national security. I would much rather not know it. Now, Pompeo was born in Orange, California. Now, that's interesting. Because as we know, California is, and it's not all of California, it's only a little bit of California, mainly the big cities, which are in direct contrast with the rest of the country. Most of California itself, and geographically, the geographic landmass by counties are Republican for the most part. And you can see that year after year after year, with the exception of when Obama ran, but that was unique first black American president-ish, right? He's only half black. And that's not racist, that's a fact. His mother's white. But anyway, with the exception of that, historically, most of California has been Republican. Only that section. So it's curious that he's from California. His mother, his mother and his father, doesn't say what they did. He attended the U.S. Military Academy where he majored in mechanical engineering and he graduated first in his class. So we have a mechanical engineer who's now going to be the head of the CIA. It's interesting. But he also received his JD, his law degree, from Harvard Law School. So guy's no idiot. That's impressive. In 2006, he sold his. He founded, and this is where I'm starting to get a little, that tingling spider feeling where you think something may be wrong here. Pompeo founded Thayer Aerospace. In 2006, he sold the interest of Thayer, which was named Next Tech Aerospace. He became the president of Sentry International, an oil field equipment company. So this guy's got ties to the oil companies. And that's not something I like to hear very often because that generally doesn't end well. So during his campaign in 2010, when he was running for his congressional seat in the 4th District of Kansas, he was given $80,000 in donation from something called Koch Industries. Now, I looked that up, and they specialize in asphalt, chemicals, trading, energy, fibers, fertilizers, minerals, natural gas, petroleum, plastics. This company's worth $100 billion since 2015. So my question inevitably will be, this guy was given thousands of dollars, and this is what's admitted. I don't know if anything else happened. I don't have any evidence of it, but it is politics, right? And now he's going to be the head of the CIA, and I got to wonder whether that's a good thing. I have my doubts. So he was also the House Select Committee in 2012 for the events around the terrorist attack in Benghazi. Now that committee really didn't do anything. They didn't pressure enough. So I don't know if he has what it takes to be the CIA director. Now his political positions: abortion. Pompeo is strongly opposed to abortion except in cases where the mother's life is at risk. He does not support abortion in case of rape and incest. I take issue with this as well. I'm against abortion. I am. Except when the mother's life is at risk and in terms of rape and incest. I think that abortion is okay in terms of rape and incest. Other than that, I'm anti-abortion. So I disagree on that. But he's the head of the CIA. He doesn't make laws. He doesn't enforce laws. So, and most is supposed to be international. So I don't care very much about that. This makes me happy. Pompeo rejects many concepts of global warming. As most of you know, I don't support global warming because I have a brain and I've seen the facts. I've also flown over the Arctic and I know it's bullshit what they say. Anyway, I'll have a whole video on that later. So he supports eliminating the Environmental Protection Agency's greenhouse gas registry program. Good for him. He said that Obama's clean power plan does not provide any measurable environmental benefits. It's true. I completely agree with that. And here I wrote the word volcanoes because if you want to make an impact, there are two things that we need to understand about pollution related to petroleum. The first is most of the CO2 that is pumped into the atmosphere is not man-made. It's from volcanoes. In fact, when the flight MH370 disappeared, right, in Malaysia, when we were searching for that flight, we discovered over 800 new volcanoes we didn't know existed, active volcanoes. So that tells you right now that the majority of the heating that's occurring, I mean, there really isn't that much heating occurring, but the majority of the heating that is occurring in certain areas, because it is a dynamic system, so there will be some heating, some cooling, is mainly due to volcanic activity, not man-made activity. Because most of the ice that's melting in certain parts of the north is melting from the bottom, not from the top. And that's a little fact that most people don't mention when we talk about it. So the other thing we have to talk about is that what do we use petroleum for? Now, if we eliminated every single SUV, every single car, everybody now walks. No cars, no trains, no trucks, no airplanes, no ships, nothing. We would still have a huge problem. Petroleum is used for this, for this, for this, for this, for this. Petroleum is used to make a lot of our products. So we have a real serious problem well, we're going to have one in about 1,000 years. We're not going to have one right now. And that is if we move to 100% renewable energy, we still need about as much petroleum as we're using now, if we're going to maintain the level of production that and consumption that we have. So really, the problem isn't petroleum. The problem is human consumption. But let's continue with this guy. So he called for the elimination of wind power production tax credits, calling them an enormous government handout. I agree with that. I mean, I think some people should be energy independent where the grid is not reliable. But I don't think we should be given so many tax credits for this, because it really doesn't benefit the state. Not in the short term and not in the long term. So he opposes the affordable. Okay, so here's another part that makes me doubt this guy, and it kind of makes me a little angry that he is now going to be head of the CIA. Pompeo opposes requiring food suppliers to label food made with genetically modified organisms. He introduced in April 2014 the Safe and Accurate Food Labeling Act to block states from requiring mandatory GMO food labeling. That is not cool. That I am completely opposed to. So again, I'm iffy on this guy, man. So far, I don't think Trump made a good decision. Pompeo has been critical of President Obama when he allegedly was indecisive and not appropriately respectful to military leaders, such as General McChrystal, who was forced to submit his resignation for having made negative comments about the president to Rolling Stone magazine. That's not too much of a big deal, but I wish the president would not surround himself with yes generals. I would think that generals that challenge you are going to help your presidency more than generals that are always nodding their head saying yes. Pompeo supports the national security. This really, I don't know what the hell's wrong with Trump when it comes to everything else he's done. I've agreed with, but this guy I don't agree with. He supports the National Security Agency surveillance program, denounced the NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden, and he said, and I quote, "I think the proper outcome would be that he would be given the death sentence." Death sentence. Edward Snowden is going to go down in history as a hero. Unless there's some information that I don't know that you guys need to tell me, from everything that I have seen, Edward Snowden is a godsend to this earth. I disagree with that completely. And now this guy's head of the CIA. So, he's going to crack down on whistleblowers, and I just don't agree with this. Pompeo opposes closing Guantanamo Bay detention camp. What the hell, dude? Pompeo has criticized the Obama administration's decision to end the CIA's secret prisons, so-called black sites, and the administration meant that all interrogators adhere to anti-torture laws. So this guy now wants CIA, black prisons, and torture back. Let me explain what that means. And then we'll close the video. Well, we'll end the video. This means that now the CIA is going to be able to have black sites. Black sites means that the CIA has prisons in other countries that do not adhere to US laws or the Geneva Convention, for example, and they can do anything they want. So CIA cannot operate within US soil, but they can take your ass somewhere else. So have you seen Captain America Civil War, when they have that floating prison, right, in the ocean? Not that the CIA has anything like that, although I wouldn't put it past them. But let's say they had something like that, or something like that in space, or something like that in Afghanistan or Iraq or Pakistan for that matter. They can pretty much do anything they want because U.S. law doesn't apply there. That includes, by the way, to U.S. citizens. So yeah, I take big issue with this. Donald Trump. I know you're not. I know you're not watching this video, and I know you're never gonna watch this video, dude. But Mike Pompeo, nah, bro. I realize that he's tough. I realize that he's. I think you know what I think this is. I think this is a compromise. I think this is him compromising with the neoconservatives. Donald, that is dangerous. You said you were going to drain the swamp, and I still believe you because we still have Jeff Sessions and Mike Flynn to talk about. But Mike Pompeo, I don't think this guy's going to be a good CIA director. I think he's going to do a lot of what we all disagreed with when President Bush was president. I don't see how this guy, you know what, I just don't see how this guy's going to be good for America. But maybe you can control him. Maybe he's got some qualities that we don't know about. But from what I've read so far, I can't support Mike Pompeo to be the head of the CIA. So tell me what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think Mike Pompeo is God's gift to the CIA or God's gift to humanity? Comment below, like this video, share and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a discussion. If you have any information on Mike Pompeo that I don't know about, please link it below. Link it below and I'll read it and I'll answer and we'll have a discussion about it. And if I need to, I'll make another video discussing it. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And stay tuned for the next video on other. So stay tuned. The next video are going to be on Jeff Sessions and Mike.